Hey, everybody. It's Eddie from Tokyo. This is your cryptocurrency update from Japan. And we're going to look at this new Bretton Woods moment. It's a sea change that is fast approaching, and I mean fast. And I want to look at how we might front run or tailgate the winners of innovation that are likely to follow, because there is going to be a fresh new way to approach where we park our money in terms of investments when this new system is introduced. Kristalina Georgieva, she's the head of the International Monetary Fund, and on the 15th, she dropped this bombshell address, hammering the urgent action that was needed to restructure without delay. So we've got the dawn of a new banking model, and it is going to be the new Bretton Woods moment. The dominance of the dollar in terms of credit and trade are probably going to be challenged. They don't want this supremacy to spill over into other global financial cycles, and so they are trying to figure out a way to tame it. I want you to just listen to her closing comment in that address, and you'll see that we need to be prepared for a big change.
The best memorial we can build to those who have lost their lives in this crisis is, in the words of Keynes, that bigger thing: building a more sustainable and equitable world. Our founders did it. It is now our turn. This is our moment.
So this is our moment. It's been 75 years since Bretton Woods. This was a conference in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, where 730 delegates from 44 allied nations in 1944 signed an agreement, a new system for the international financial relations. I think the biggest change would be the foreign exchange rates were changed and pegged to gold. That was probably the most famous change out of this signing. And Keynes, which was an economist at the time, he envisioned the creation of a new international currency he called the Bancor, and he viewed any agreement to peg to gold was fatal to the British Empire. But on December 27th, 1945, the dollar was pegged to gold, and an official signing at which the, by the way, Soviet Union would not sign, and the Cold War began. This was the beginning of the rise of the dollar and this empire as we know it today. This peg ended in 1971, when the U.S. could no longer afford to pay the $35 an ounce for the gold. And in tandem, the day before this address was given, we heard from the G20, and they endorsed this roadmap to enhance cross-border payments. I'm going to play this portion here for you.
On the financial sector's issue, we have made significant progress. We just endorsed the G20 Roadmap to enhance cross-border payments to facilitate cheaper, faster, more inclusive, and transparent payment transactions. This would yield substantial benefits for households in developing countries and increase the presence of small and medium enterprises in the international trading system, benefiting emerging and advanced economies alike. While responsible technological innovation can deliver significant benefits to the financial system and the broader economy, we are closely monitoring developments and remain vigilant to existing and emerging risks. We agree that no so-called global stablecoin should commence operation until all relevant legal, regulatory, and oversight requirements are adequately addressed through appropriate design and by adhering to applicable standards.
So they're going to take it a little bit slower on the stablecoin, the global stablecoin. In the G20 digest that occurred that followed this, it confirmed that the growing recognition for stablecoins are here to stay and have the potential to play a useful role. Facebook Libra, the proposal, they thrust this into making it very obvious the shortcomings of the existing cross-border payment system, and China's move on its own with its version of the central bank digital currency, the yuan. It has also clearly put pressure on central bankers. So the Bank of Japan said on Friday that no single bank currency will dominate global transactions. Therefore, one could conclude from this that there's going to be many solutions. In this video, I am not here to make really my opinion for what I think about the change. The purpose is to understand where the G20 and the IMF are going to influence us and influence the world. And I want to be on the right side of this change to seize this gargantuan moment of change. And I'm going to focus on what I can tailgate on in terms of who the winners of innovation are going to be. Digitalization is coming with this unsustainable debt. The banking model is going to create then a new system to drive new and different kinds of money. And with this change will come, a new framework. And I'm talking about payment rails. And it's also going to come with a variety of stable coins and a big variety of CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies. The global shift, in addition, towards a environmentally friendly, greener solution is going to mean an attitude of policy changes. It's going to outcast and maybe even go as far as attempting to ban those that don't fall into line. And finally, more control is going to occur over your taxes, your digital identity, your privacy. It's going to be packaged as financial inclusion, gender equality, and anti-illicit behavior, but don't be fooled. I just think, though, in this video, I'm going to have a real serious look at those sectors that we need to pay attention to. So the digital dollar, a couple of days ago, they published the 9 scenarios to test the elements of the U.S. central bank digital currency. This is the partnership that is occurring with Accenture. And the 12 pages that they produced provides these examples, the core components of what should be there. So they feel it should be tokenized, it should be issued by the Federal Reserve, it should be able to transact offline, which is super interesting, and also be accessible to all people, regardless of location or income, and supportive and complementary to additional payment sector innovations. So in this example of the in the international payments, you can see here that banks would no longer need to maintain nostro vostro banking structures to execute payments and transfers internationally. Well, okay, if that is the case, there will still, according to this, be the need for foreign exchange market making. So it's reasonable to assume many counterparties would be willing to accept and maintain a US dollar balance. I think that's a very American-centric point of view, because I don't think you can assume that will be always the case. in terms of these countries maintaining a US dollar balance. I think it's the last thing a lot of countries, especially the developing countries, want to do. So XRP reduces the cost significantly. And you can see that it is even able to beat an FX, a foreign exchange spot price, as shown in this Ripple PDF on the Japan Government Financial Services website. And also, too, I'm on the Ripple Insights page here. This is their blog. And in regards to parked money, as countries would still be required to park USD, it has a risk. It's an inherent risk to foreign exchange volatility, especially harsh in countries that have a weakening currency. So RippleNet's on-demand liquidity service, as I have highlighted here in the yellow, it allows financial institutions to transact in real time across multiple global markets using the digital asset XRP, and such a solution can also support direct exchange of CBDCs. XRP is faster, less costly, and more scalable than any other digital asset, making it the ideal instrument in bridging two different currencies quickly and efficiently, even if they happen to be in a digital format. So the changing landscape looks very positive for XRP. So as far as the framework, well, we're going to need these new rails, right? And I think that most of the stable coins and CBDCs are going to likely be backed by fiat. And that is going to be the movers of innovation, which is why I have my eye on Stellar right now. With this announcement that came out on Friday, the Stellar blockchain will soon support the USDC stablecoin, co-founded by Circle and Coinbase. And the USDC follows the value of the dollar with an account that is regularly audited, proving that the backing is really there. What a novel idea. And currently there are 2.8 billion in circulation. So the Stellar CEO will also be a part of the IMF panel on cross-border payments. And I think that the conference on cross-border payments from the IMF, called A New Beginning, which starts in 2 hours, 16 minutes, and 47 seconds from now. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to cover it in another video. If you want to watch it, I'll put a link in the description below, and you'll be able to watch that live through that link. So when looking to invest in any technology, you want to consider these types of potential. Companies or crypto projects or solution providers that deliver real utility. For example, stablecoin or tokenized digital asset platforms that can issue these tokens. Securitize, Tezos, that's just two out there, but that is going to definitely be one of the winning solutions. Digital wallet and custody services, for sure. Architects and builders of payment rails like Ripple, absolutely. Solution providers that can execute smart contracts, yeah, that's why we're paying attention to this Spark token. Engineering support, for sure. When you look at all of the most innovative companies in fintech, so many of them are offering the engineering support. And of course, you have the app builders. They are going to be able to onboard people without brick and mortar. Analytic companies, those that are doing big data and using AI, this is really essential in these rapidly changing times. Security, all forms, online, offline. Digital identity solutions, yep. And of course, the all-in-one personal tax monitoring or advising solutions, because there is going to be more and more scrutiny on everybody's personal taxes, and it's going to be so easily accessible. So is there going to be some pushback, like, a universal feel that you're losing control of your privacy? Probably. I am guessing that a lot of those privacy coins are going to be very valuable, along with many DeFi platforms for everything under the sun. And if you take a look, you can easily find these fintech companies that are startups that you should keep in your back pocket. You can do a search and there's a list, keeping that in mind. Here are the privacy coins. Monero, for me, has been one of the best performing projects I have in my portfolio. And the last sector, well, that is the green sector. Now, let's go to this video from the IMF. This was on October 16th. And I'm not saying that it's right or it's wrong. I'm not. I'm just paying attention to how this sea change is occurring. So listen to this about 20 seconds here.
But also, I would stress this is a chance for us to build higher productivity, to build a greener economy, one that can withstand the other crisis knocking on the door, the climate crisis. So I am confident that we would see that very careful, well-calibrated direction of the stimulus in the months to come. Also, the IMF support would be aligned with a policy advice on how we can create dynamism in the economy by injecting more innovation, digital, low carbon, climate resilient. And as we do that, and I cannot say that strongly enough, of course, we have to be mindful of supporting people and firms that are going to be transitioning out of the economy so they can be productively redirected. And that means...
So she can't say it strongly enough. Build a greener economy. And so the stimulus money, it's going to be redirected to these greener solutions. Digital, low carbon, climate resilient companies. And knowing, she admits that some will have to transition out. That's a polite way of saying they're going to be forced out. They're going to be forced out of the economy. This green message is becoming louder and louder, and we can no longer ignore this. I'm telling you that it's going to affect who is going to win in this space and who is going to lose. I'm not saying, again, that this is, I agree with it or disagree. I just want to illustrate how the narrative is going to shape support, policy, regulations going forward. And I have you listen to just one more bit on climate change. This one is for sure just 45 seconds.
We can no longer afford to ignore climate change. My third imperative. We focus on climate change because it is macro-critical, posing profound threats to growth and prosperity. It is also people-critical and planet-critical. In the last decade, direct damage from climate-related disasters adds up to around $1.3 trillion. If you don't like this health crisis, we will not like the climate crisis one iota.
So you get it. It's this is going to be a narrative that is really strongly pushed and is going to be embraced by people whether they want to do it or not. You've seen many articles, videos, and podcasts coming from Ripple about the negative impact of proof of work, right? And the goal for Ripple now is to achieve a carbon net zero by 2030. I want to show you an article that just came out on the 12th of October where David Schwartz, the CTO of Ripple, was interviewed. This is an interview that he gave the Information Age. And if I just take you down here, he does mention how specifically the customers need ODL to alleviate some of the stress caused by the pre-funding. But here, he wants to let everyone know that you have to ensure innovation doesn't come at the cost of the planet. So blockchain and crypto will play a key role in the future of finance, but current cryptocurrency mining methods consume excessively large amounts of energy, and then goes on to say that when it comes to excessive energy consumption, cryptocurrencies running on proof of work networks such as Bitcoin and Ethereum are the culprits. Wow, it's a strong word when you use culprit. There's no incentive to take responsibility for their carbon footprint. Greener options available such as XRP Ledger, which uses a low latency consensus protocol by design. The XRP Ledger was built to be a more environmentally friendly and inexpensive mechanism for verifying transactions than proof of work networks. So you can see that you don't want to be on the wrong side of this building momentum here, because global thought or global think can be very persuasive. You have to consider this. So how this sea change could move against proof of work, I think it is possible it could happen in a significant way. You may not imagine, but I imagine, and I can imagine in 1, 2, or 3 years, it will not be forget in fashion, or it just won't be acceptable. And I just am going to keep this in mind when I'm looking at where I'm going to put my money in this new sea change. And it even, I'm just going to slowly transform into the fluff, because that is even gone into Japan now. As of the 7th of October, you can take home your leftovers. This was never allowed in Japan before. Believe it or not, you couldn't take food. If you had leftovers on your plate, you weren't allowed to take it home, like in a doggy bag, as they call it in America. Royal Host was one of the first family restaurant chains in Japan to change their policy. And it is, just for people who are coming to Japan, I can remember, I don't eat at this restaurant now, but when I first arrived in Japan and I couldn't order in Japanese, I would often choose restaurants that had these big picture menus if I was by myself. So I could just point, this is one of those restaurants that have one of these easy picture menus. Just keep that in mind if you are. It's kind of like a Denny's. Yeah, it's kind of like a Denny's, but the food's not too bad. The quality of food in Japan is pretty darn good, even at these family restaurants. But the government is taking on this sustainability with a no food loss project. And so they are pushing to not waste any food. Montanai, which means don't waste. So the wasting of food now is considered really a no-no. And so the restaurants are going to be allowed to let you take home your leftovers. It's a huge, big change here in Japan. It has just always been not allowed. And talk about some changes. Oh my gosh, the Kit Kats in Japan have reduced their size. It comes from what I understand, customer response. The Japanese felt that the Kit Kat size was too big. Can you imagine? So they have reduced the size, and then they did this promotion where it is 10% less sugar.
ブレイク
するっしょ。
しや
すんだ。
ブレイクしよう。キットカットは美味しさそのまま。砂糖 10% 減。だからもっとブレイクしよう。
Oh gosh, so there you have it. All right, everybody, do take care. Sayonara for now. Bye-bye.